Okay.
All right.
This is a big moment.
It is.
Yeah, we are officially live in the new studio. And I apologize for those of you watching on YouTube. We only have one camera working right now because everything was glitching yesterday.
Yeah, but it's kind of like new school, old school. I mean, we're in the new studio, right?
But I mean,
we're taking it back to vintage days when there was just
let's be honest.
one
This
camera.
is so much better than the last studio.
It is.
Yeah, I just did everything myself in the last studio, and as we went across the weeks and months, we just picked up little things. It's like, ooh, that doesn't work right. Ooh, if we did this again, we would do this, and this differently. And here we are.
That's right.
Sitting as a foursome at one table, not spread out across the room. Sorry for there's no couches. You're less comfortable than you would be in the other one.
Comfy.
But yeah. Okay. So Kathleen Ketola.
Yes.
Okay. I said that right. Awesome. Okay. Welcome to the McKinney Podcast. You are officially the very first guest in our new studio. And how long will it be until it's no longer the new studio or it's just the studio?
Well, I don't know because we're recording, 5 sessions today?
Yeah.
So all day today will be the new studio.
Actually, no, 4. The 11 o'clock canceled. I forgot to tell you.
Oh,
Yesterday.
double long lunch.
They canceled yesterday.
Okay.
So,
Well, stuff
okay.
happens. Stuff happens, right?
Yeah. Kathleen, welcome to the McKinney Podcast. I think I said that the second time now. You are an acupuncturist and a holistic medicine practitioner, right?
Yes.
Okay. What's the name of your company?
Beachside Community Acupuncture.
Beachside Community Acupuncture. I'm
So,
gonna scoot that mic
which
forward just a little bit. There you go.
which beach is that here in McKinney?
Yeah, so we don't have a beach. That's why I made my own. But I'm from Florida, and that was my one complaint about Dallas is that we don't really have an ocean nearby. So at my clinic, it feels like you're on a little beach vacation while you're getting your treatment.
Do you get sand between your toes? Because that's the annoying part.
No sand,
Okay.
so that's good.
Awesome.
We don't have Coronas or margaritas either, but it's ocean waves on repeat, gorgeous beach murals.
Nice.
Yeah.
So do we work on our tan while you're healing the body?
Yeah, no tan either. Try to keep all the lights dim, so more
So
relaxing.
just need some red light therapy, right? And some UV lamps to
Tanning bed
That's
acupuncture.
right. That's right.
So-
no one does that, right?
I don't think you should do that. So.
We got connected with you through McKinney Chamber,
Yes.
the links thing on Wednesday morning. Fred put out an open call for 2 additional guests, and you raised your hand, and now you're here.
Yep.
And I think that is just the essence of this podcast.
That's right.
Because we're in a room where a bunch of organic networking is happening, and now we get to sit with someone who is a professional in something that I know nothing about. Absolutely nothing about.
Have you ever had acupuncture?
I've never
Really?
even been in the building where acupuncture happens.
Oh,
So
man.
I take it you have.
I have, and it's obviously acupuncture isn't like all therapies. It's not just a hey, this hurts and it gets fixed, right? Because you have to learn your patients, and But I used to network with somebody, and I had her, for a couple of sessions here and there, and it's one of those things where, on the receiving end, I was like, at first I thought, how many needles are we talking here?
Yeah.
Because it was just localized for.
I think
for
it's a lot. Yeah.
For a muscle, and I said, she put it in, and there are things that are, pain. There's acute, there's throbbing, there's all the other things, and at that point, I think I was having it's more of a chronic muscle ache that just wasn't going anywhere, and after that, I don't think I had it, and so I'm trying to remember where it was. Of the things that ache, of course, we rode the elevator together.
Well, you're in your 50s now, so I think everything aches.
Everything aches.
Yeah.
If
I'm really looking forward to that, by the way.
if my thoughts move too quickly, things ache.
Yeah. So, Kathleen, how did you find your way to this practice? How did you decide, you know what, I'm going to spend my career doing acupuncture and holistic medicine?
Yeah, so the acupuncture part was very roundabout. I was raised on holistic health. Like, I've never had an ibuprofen in my life, but my mom's a nurse practitioner. So I grew up watching surgeries, coloring her medical textbooks. I knew Western medicine pretty well. And in undergrad, I went to University of Florida.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Chomp chomp, baby.
So I was pre-med, degrees in biology and nutrition, and really debated about what to do afterwards. So thought about doing grad work in nutrition, which is a lot of research. I did research in undergrad, didn't really love it. I thought about doing the ecology route because I'm very passionate about the environment as well. Thought about actually going to med school. Decided chiropractic would be a good in-between. So I started at a school in California that had an acupuncture program as well. Never had acupuncture before. Within a month of doing like the 12 hours of classes a day, I decided I like acupuncture a lot. Couldn't really see myself practicing chiropractic. And so I stuck with acupuncture. Yeah, so very roundabout, but everything works out how it's supposed to.
You know, I think of acupuncture and chiropractic as kind of cousins of the not Western medicine, where a lot of, you know, MDs who went to insert medical school in the U.S., like they kind of poo-poo the DCs and some of the DOs and just the people, you know, if someone is a nurse practitioner that is, you know, certified in functional medicine. My brother is an FNP with a trauma background. He did the ER nurse thing for a number of years, and he has every intention of being a functional medicine practitioner. So I'm very familiar with that side of things. But when you think of acupuncture, it's kind of a spiritual cousin to chiropractic in that it's not traditional Western medicine. It is more holistic in its approach. I'd love to hear about just the practice of acupuncture.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I think I'm a good analog for a lot of the people in our audience. I have no idea what it is, why it works, how it works. The idea of someone sticking a bunch of tiny needles in me sounds terrible. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So educate me. I'm ignorant.
Yeah.
What's the deal with acupuncture?
Yeah, so acupuncture is a therapy within traditional Chinese medicine. So Chinese medicine, if you think thousands of years ago, they had their own way of looking at the body, diagnosing, their own treatment plans, kind of like going to a Western doctor now, but that's all they knew. And so acupuncture is just one therapy that they had at their fingertips. So others like cupping, gua sha, moxibustion. I don't practice those at my clinic, honestly.
Is she speaking English?
Yes, Chinese, right?
Now it's Mandarin.
So, my Chinese is horrible, but so all those therapies are all geared towards fixing imbalances in the body. So Chinese medicine diagnoses might be like qi deficiency, and qi is just energy. So for instance, if someone has shortness of breath, their lungs don't have the energy to breathe, that's a lung qi deficiency. And so we choose points with acupuncture to correct those deficiencies or, you know, other imbalances. And we also work on like diet therapy. We work on other things too. And acupuncture, so you can technically do acupressure and stimulate acupuncture points, right? But acupuncture is the insertion of needles. You mentioned one big thing. So the needles are very small. They're not like doctor's needles at all. Most people equate needles with syringes. Nothing goes in or on our needles. They're just the diameter of a hair. You really don't feel them for the most part. If you do, it's like a mosquito bite. And so the needles go into acupoints. Every point has like 15 different actions. That's why we study to learn what those all are. And we can correct like a lot of imbalances that contribute to Western health conditions.
Okay. Indulge me for a second. I'm sorry. I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. I also was pre-med, and I failed organic chemistry, which is why I didn't go to medical school.
Biochem, rough too.
I passed biochem, and I failed OChem.
Yeah.
My academic advisor was like going, but biochem is harder than OChem. It was like, I don't know. The whole like three-dimensional functional group progression and like you had to visualize in an abstract was like my brain just didn't work that way. So I'm not a doctor. And here I am on a podcast with someone who's basically a doctor. What's the physiological thing happening there? Like when you put a tiny needle in a very specific point. Obviously, there's a lot of nervous system things happening. You're engaging endocrine system and like your hormones and the lymphatic system and all like those things that just kind of regulate internally. Physiologically, what's happening with acupuncture? Why does it have a positive impact on your body?
Yeah, so American Medical Association knows it works. They don't know how it works. They try to research it and figure it out. I will say acupuncture research has some pitfalls. You can't do a double-blind, randomized, controlled trial with acupuncture, but they have found out at least some of the
There's no placebo for a needle in your skin.
Well, They try. So either they say we're going to needle a point that's not the intended point, but anytime you put a needle in, that's going to cause a response in the body. They say we're going to put in like a fake needle, so a patient looking down would think it's a needle, but it's just, something sticking out. That's still acupressure, though. So again, the research they have found, though, functional MRIs of the brain show that if I put a needle, say, in the hand, it could light up a part of the brain that goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it can increase circulation, which is a great one. Puts the body in the parasympathetic state, which is the rest and digest state.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone's stressed or even just day-to-day stress, right, like traffic and deadlines and everything else, we're in that fight or flight. And ideally, we'd be in the fight or flight in little bursts, but then spend most of our time in that rest and digest. A lot of people, that's flipped. So acupuncture puts the body back in that state during the treatment and then retrains the body to be in that state where it's supposed to be more often. And then, like you mentioned, so influences neurotransmitters, hormones. Another thing, too, really for pain. So if you think of when you first injure yourself, say you sprain your ankle, body really works on it for a little bit, right? It blows up, it gets hot, there's a lot going on. If you don't do anything at all, after a while, your body just compensates. So it just assumes that's how it is now, and it does whatever it can do to get by. With acupuncture, we're trying to reignite that healing again. So telling the body, like, hey, this is something worth working on. And so with that, especially chronic pain, we can really promote long-term healing. So we're not just covering it up. We're getting the body to actually fix what it kind of forgot about, if you want to call it that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so when it comes to, the body, and so you see the body as a whole functioning unit.
Yes.
That, and I love that, and I do agree that there are nerves and systems that are, completely doesn't seem to make sense. Like, I can't remember what it is now, but I met somebody who said, when you have a headache, that there was something on the hand that you pressed, and
It's right here.
So, okay,
Yeah.
I don't like that a lot of people know that one. That one also induces labor. So don't do that on a pregnant woman. But for everybody else, or for someone with high blood pressure, everybody else, that's
really high blood pressure.
Yeah, that's an okay point. But otherwise, if someone comes with a headache, I will sometimes do that point. It's a command point for the head. So tooth pain, eye issues, whatever else. But usually I really pinpoint where the headache is. So if it's the side of the head, I might do near the elbow. If it's behind the eye, I might do the knee. So again, good general point, but there are other ones too.
Oh, really? Okay. So for everybody out there who, somebody who told you about the whole hand thing, high blood pressure and pregnancy,
Yeah,
it induces labor.
Yeah. So we, for pregnant women who are past their due date, we can work to induce labor. So acupuncture is completely safe during pregnancy. Basically just a handful of points we avoid during pregnancy, and that's one of them.
So this is like the Pitocin pump of...
Yeah, it's just to stimulate uterine contractions, get things going.
How about that?
Yeah.
So do you moonlight, as a midwife, or?
No. Yeah, usually patients come in and again, usually they're working with their doctors and they're doing other things too. They're not just doing acupuncture. But.
Okay, so obviously you mentioned acupressure, and I do have an acupressure mat. I had no idea about acupressure. But it's just a big mat. It's basically a torture device. It feels like a bed of nails. There's it's about as big as probably about this big.
Yeah. You've all seen them on our Facebook news feeds.
Yeah. Yes, and so
I think Shakti is one of the ones that's real popular.
Someone recommended it to me, and I laid down on that thing. Well, first I tried it just with no shirt on. I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna get up off of this."
Let me guess. Your reaction was ow, 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 ow.
Yes. It was like as soon as I started to roll onto it, I was like, oh, man, I'm tough. So I laid. I was like, nope. I got right off of that. But when I put on a T-shirt and laid down on it, it took away, I would say, 85% of the actual points, and I was like, somewhere in between, there has to be a fabric. Or is it just a matter of...
I think you should just go get acupuncture done.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, those mats I have actually not used one personally, but from what I understand, people who tell me that it's very painful at first, and then after like a minute or two, your body relaxes. Those mats are okay. It's just that they're not really targeting anything. They're just
They're just increasing stimulation or
And
blood flow?
They're probably hitting points by accident, if you want to call it that, but they're, not really targeting anything. So it might, feel good, but it's not addressing necessarily, like a specific concern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a couple of like entrepreneurial things here because there's a lot of people that watch and listen to the podcast. A lot of them are in the chamber or, in the small business community. We also have a lot of people that are just normal citizens that are listening because they think we're interesting or entertaining, or they're curious like I am. I don't know anything about acupuncture. But a lot of people aspire to someday have some sort of business that they're doing. I'd love to hear your story of going from, hey, you know what? I'm interested in Eastern medicine. I want to learn more about this. I'm going to go to school for this. To, you know what? I'm going to open a business and I'm going to be not just a medical practitioner, but you also own a business. You're responsible for all of the businessy things, sales and marketing and operations and back office and hiring at some point if you haven't already. I don't know.
Yeah.
How did you decide I want to be a business owner? And what was the process like of, going through that? Because if there's anything I've learned in, running a commercial insurance firm and dealing with a few thousand business owners over the years, most people in highly technical fields, whether it is engineering or accounting or medicine or whatever, pick your technical field. They're really, really good technicians, but that no one teaches you how to run a business in your medical practice.
Not at all.
Like when you're going to medical school, or in this case, chiropractic and acupuncture. What was it like going through the process of, hey, you know what? I think I want to run a business. I want to own a business, and now you're running a business locally. What was that like?
Yeah. So, to your point, we got, I think, half a semester of, practice management in grad school, and I went to a 3-year program to get a master's in acupuncture. I actually just subbed in at a friend's seminar that he was teaching to acupuncture school students. And it was on practice management. The whole thing was, hey, nobody teaches you this. So I was just answering even basic questions like, what phone service do you use? But yeah, so for me, I never wanted to own a business. Seemed like too much work. My dad owned businesses growing up. My dream job was to work in a hospital where all my patients were provided for. Just decided, hey, not for me. Not really into hospitals. But I was an independent contractor at a few businesses when I first moved to Texas and started here. And really, it was out of necessity or need that I would have loved to refer to a community clinic. Some of my patients couldn't afford to see me as often as they needed to. And there was just not a community clinic in Dallas. Most major cities have at least one. And again, none here. And so that really was the motivation to start my clinic, Beachside Community Acupuncture. Community acupuncture is a bit different than private practice, which most acupuncture in America is private practice. Community acupuncture is more accessible, more affordable, has a different atmosphere to it. As far as starting a business, definitely lots of learning curves over the years. It's very different than when I first started. And it's just, figuring things out as you go. So I think at first I had just my own business cell phone, for instance. I'd answer on my own calls. After a while, I got too busy, decided offsite reception would be a good idea, and I still use the same company. But I needed a way for someone to call and get forwarded to them during business hours, get forwarded to a voicemail off hours. I need to be able to call them back on my business line using the same number, possibly on my cell phone if I needed to on my same number. So I figured out voice over IP was the way to do that.
Yep.
So, and I didn't know what that was at all. So
so you confessed to not being a nerd, but you kind of dropped some nerd terms here.
Well, I mean, it's just figuring it out. Like I built my own website, not, coding, but through a drag and drop and everything, do my own SEO. So it's just as you reach something that you need to learn, you just figure it out. Yep. Or of course you can hire out, but I don't do that.
Yeah, hiring out costs, a little bit of capital, so.
Exactly.
Well, and there is, after 13 years of running a business, and we have 14 people that work at RiskWell now, and payroll is like $70,000 a month.
Yep.
As they say on LinkedIn, there's levels to everything. As early stage business owners, you wear every hat. Yeah. You are everything. You are the IT department because you don't have an outsourced contractor. You are the phone system set up. Like you are the sales and marketing team. You are the ops team.
Yeah.
So that is just bootstrap, get it done, good old American ingenuity of, elsewhere in the world, I don't know if there's the same level of, I'm going to run a business. I'm going to start a business. This entrepreneurial spirit, I don't know if it exists in the same way elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't in Europe, that's for sure. They're like, oh, we're going to work 30 hours this week, and we're going to spend 2 hours at lunch and have an extra coffee and 2 extra croissants and whatever. Maybe it does in Germany.
And
I know France versus
wine.
Germany.
It's always a glass of wine.
Well, and in Italy and Spain and Portugal, it's wine. And in Germany, it's beer. I don't think there's a lot of German wine drinking clubs or whatever. What do you attribute your desire to do this? You said your dad ran a couple of businesses. Is that where you got the bug to do your own thing?
Not really. Again, I think it was more out of necessity. Like, I didn't mind working in private practice as a contractor. It's just, again, if there were a community clinic, maybe I would have just worked there and not had to start my own. But it was really just seeing a need in the community. So I think that's a lot of businesses, right? If you watch Shark Tank or whatever else, like, you see something that should be there and it's not, and then you feel a really strong motivation. That motivation helps you overcome all the other stresses and everything else that go along with business ownership, because it's not always fun.
My motivation was, man, I'm hungry and I need money.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it could be as simple as that.
That's right.
Or it could be like, hey, nobody else is doing photography the way I think it should be done.
That's right. So, that's true. That there's a need here, and there's obviously a gap in something, and I think that I can meet that need for this particular market. But let's fill in a couple blanks here. So we've already established you went to the greatest university in all of Florida.
Easy.
Right?
Hold on.
In all of Florida.
All of
That's
America,
right.
Oh.
So, yeah. All of
The world.
The world, yeah.
And then you went to California.
Yes.
How did you get from California to Texas, and then in Texas, because you talked about, you dropped Dallas as a name, but why McKinney? So give us the quick little,
Yeah, so went to University of Florida, which is North Florida, if nobody knows that. So it feels like the South versus where I'm from in South Florida is not the South.
That's right.
And so I went to grad school in California just because I always thought, like, hey, maybe I'd like California as well. I was there my first year, honestly didn't love it. And so went back to South Florida to finish up my graduate degree. And I got licensed in Florida immediately with acupuncture license, and just missed the South, wanted to be in a bigger city. Honestly, thought about Charleston, but the laws for acupuncture vary by state. South Carolina's, I think it was herbal medicine. Something was a little not what I wanted. And so considered Texas also. I talked to a lot of people about the different cities in Texas because I had no idea. Houston was about 50-50, either loved it or hated it, and very strong opinions on it.
Hate.
So I was like, I'm not going to do that. But almost everybody I talked to said Dallas was great. I think maybe one person didn't like it. Everybody else loved it. So when I first moved here, I was in Plano for the first year, moved to Dallas for a year, and then was in Valley Ranch for 8 years. And so we moved to McKinney in June. And we just really liked McKinney. We tried different cities. We knew we were going to move. But McKinney, just loved the feel as far as the downtown, the historic element. We have the flour mill, the cotton mill. And I just love that it's right now not too built up either. We're in Trinity Falls further north, and there's lots of pastures. I see cows on the way to work every day. And so it's just been really a nice kind of change of pace where you're close to city, you're close to a lot of history, but you also have the nature nearby too.
Should we warn her that there's not much pasture and cows left? That's all going to be developed.
There's all the for sale signs.
The Anna, the Melissa, that part of McKinney is experiencing
a lot of growth,
unprecedented growth.
Yeah, you better enjoy that little patch of land, that's bordered by 75 and was that Laud Howell? Mm-hmm. I think that
there's a hospital going up soon. So there's a lot happening.
Yeah, but Trinity Falls is a great community, and they're building in everything that you need where you wouldn't have to leave Trinity Falls for everything. So,
and as we learned yesterday in Leadership McKinney, not actually part of McKinney.
That's right.
It's the mud. Yeah.
It's in the mud.
We pay quite a few taxes for that. But
a lot.
What's nice, and I think this is common knowledge. So because we're not City McKinney, they don't care about fireworks. So 4th of July was a lot of fun. And we'll see about New Year's and Diwali. And
all of the city ordinances, building codes, all of that don't exist in Trinity Falls.
Yeah, so we have our own little,
And did you know that when you moved there?
No, well, we knew about the mud just because obviously with mortgage and everything, that was a consideration. But we didn't really know what that meant as far as, just things we might experience in the neighborhood.
Yes. The first time someone, there's mud and there's pit, and I was like, well, I know what mud is. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
I thought it was, it was like the physical, clay, wet, moist,
We're actually on
dirt, mud. And I was like, and then they said, and then there's the pit. And I was like,
Public Improvement District.
I was like, I don't think I know what we're talking about here. And so, because every time I was looking at some neighborhood or subdivision, they're like, well, that's mud. And I was like, oh, it's undeveloped. And that was my thought. And then as soon as PID came along, I was like, okay, obviously I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'll be totally honest with you. I'm a complete nerd for city planning and development. So when we had Paul Grimes in, city manager of McKinney, we had Michael Quint in, senior director of development. I was just like, yeah, very cool stuff happening with the city. And it's such a complex thing for anybody who's living outside of the city limits. Trinity Falls is the perfect example. There's, because of what's happening in Austin and what has happened the last couple of years, it's just making it very challenging for, people to navigate those relationships, emergency services, police and fire, paramedic, ambulance. Like, what happens if you need to call 911? Like, that is a complicated relationship. Trinity Falls has a deal with the city where there's a quid pro quo. They pay a certain amount and the city has police and fire. But the moment you step outside of Trinity Falls, who responds when you call 911? Yeah. It's a patchwork. Yeah. And, it's very interesting. Sorry, this has nothing to do with acupuncture. Okay, we were just talking about this yesterday because Fred is in this year's class of leadership McKinney. Highly, highly recommend that you consider that for the future. But just long conversations on how these things work out the moment you step outside the city limits. Because people that live McKinney adjacent don't think about it unless something comes up and it's like, oh my gosh, what happens when I call 911?
Yeah. Well, we have a fire station just down the street from us.
Yeah.
So that's nice. And then sheriff seems to be always around too. So so far we haven't really experienced that. But there are a lot of other communities that are similar, right, that are just outside the city limits that are getting built up. So
it's like I talked to a bunch of older folk and they're like, we don't call 911, we call 357.
Oh my gosh.
Just take care of business out there. Okay,
I cannot with you today. I cannot.
Let's bring it back to our guest here.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned that you've never taken an ibuprofen.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, so I broke my foot 2 years ago, had to have surgery. The bones were not near each other. And so
there's no acupuncture for that, right?
No, well, okay, but pre-op and post-op. So I treated myself twice a day, every day for a few weeks after my surgery, and then went down to once a day. I took, I think it was hydrocodone. They gave me some kind of medication. My husband made me take it the first night, which was fair. When the lidocaine wore off, it didn't feel good. He made me take it the second night, did not need it at all, felt terrible the next day. So all the rest of my recovery was like turmeric and essential oils and acupuncture and microcurrent and all that kind of stuff. And so we were going to fly to Finland, where my husband's from, I think like a week later. My surgeon cleared me as long as I took aspirin, so I had to do that. But otherwise...
Did that tear you up?
Nah, I mean, it was okay. I didn't really feel bad. But otherwise, Western medicine is great for when you really need it. So again, foot's broken, you need surgery. Or I've had patients that like call and say, hey, I'm not breathing well. Can I come in? If it's chronic, maybe. If it's sudden, no, go to an ER, that type of thing. But for a lot of long-term things, that's where holistic health is really beneficial, because we're looking at root causes, what else is going on, what else you can change in your diet and lifestyle, and so on. So to answer your question, if I absolutely needed, ibuprofen or something, fine, but usually I just feel like I don't, and I can manage things with natural means and stuff.
And so now, would you say you have a high pain tolerance? Because you said your mom was a nurse.
Yeah.
So unless there was a bone exposed or there was, bleeding, she was probably... rub some dirt in it and walk it off?
Yeah, we didn't, I didn't have any too many big injuries growing up that I remember. So I maybe I didn't have anything super traumatic that I remember, at least. But yeah, we didn't really do any kind of Western medicine. Obviously, if it was a cut or something, fine, clean it out. Still make the best of Western medicine knowledge. But
so to kind of put legs to this conversation for the folks listening, watching that are not at all familiar with acupuncture and want to, figure out how to tiptoe their way into considering it as one of the options on the menu of treatments and modalities to feel better or to deal with, chronic things and whatnot. What's the best course of action for someone to get familiar? Is it just hop on YouTube and type in acupuncture something, or is there something more specific that you would have them go to? And do you have content that you've created to get people familiar?
As far as knowledge, so I do have a lot of content on my website, arguably too much, but we have a blog with like Chinese medicine, acupuncture, acupressure, essential oils, nutrition. So that has a lot of information if you want to understand how it works. That being said, you don't need to know how it works for it to work, right?
Sure.
So I'd say in general, just go try it.
Sure.
Otherwise, watching, for instance, like YouTube videos, like in acupuncture marketing, they say don't use needles in your marketing. Like you said earlier, most people think that's not relaxing, right?
Yeah.
So if you're watching people just get needles all over the place, maybe it's exposure therapy that you get used to it, but otherwise you might just be psyching yourself up for something that doesn't really hurt at all. So if you want to learn about it, otherwise I just recommend trying it. For me personally, granted, I love health. I like just trying all the things and seeing how my body responds to all of them. Because you mentioned chiropractic acupuncture. There's also Ayurveda and Reiki and Rolfing. There's a lot of things out there. So just know.
I don't know what any of those are.
Yeah, so,
what you just said, just so we're clear, like,
Is it Reiki or Reiki?
Reiki.
I don't, that's the.
Is that when you take the the lawn tool and pull it across your skin and call it?
That's
Reiki.
Reiki.
Oh, Reiki.
Yeah.
No, so like Rolfing is fascia manipulation. Reiki a lot of times is just energy work, sound healing. Ayurveda is Indian medicine. Homeopathy is German medicine from a few hundred years ago. There's a lot out there. So in general, I get patients who come in and it's almost like a last resort. They've been really discouraged because nothing else has helped them. And I always say, you can't give up. You just have to keep trying and see what you respond to and then go with that. And it can change, right? You might need acupuncture for a few weeks and then do better off with chiropractic for a few weeks or whatever it is. So I always, keep my patients' best interests at heart and just try to recommend what's best for them. It might be acupuncture or whatever else is out there too.
I love that you lead with, you have to give it a time period.
Yeah.
Because, obviously in our society, we have a fix for everything.
Yeah.
And, you had mentioned, the narcotics level painkillers, but, you take that, but it causes, a feeling of nausea. So you got to take something for that. But the anti-nauseal thing makes you constipated, so you got to take that. It's not just the one thing; it's all the other things that go along with it. And and now in my mid-50s, after I probably have kept ibuprofen and aspirin. It's like, I've probably kept, there are probably people driving Mercedes and living in luxury condos. How much of that I put into my body.
Yeah.
But, I do believe that with, you mentioned key things, diet, that we infuse all sorts of, stressors on the body through our diet, through lifestyle, that if you can analyze what you're doing, why you're doing, and what you're putting into your body, that a lot of those things, you reduce the stresses on your body, that things can get better for you. And then you mentioned turmeric. Is like turmeric or ginger, which is better?
So ginger, I'd say, is more for like digestive issues, so nausea, that kind of thing.
What about its anti-inflammatory properties? I dabble just enough in some of this stuff to go. I think
once again, Fred does the research, and James just comes in blind asking questions.
It's anti-inflammatory. You have to be careful. It is a blood thinner, so if you take a lot of it, if you get cuts and things, turmeric is usually my go-to. It's anti-inflammatory, but in Chinese medicine, it's less hot versus ginger. Like if someone has a heat condition, they run hot, they have hot flashes, whatever else, ginger might make them feel worse versus, so for instance, digestive issues, peppermint would be cooling. So turmeric, I feel like, is a little bit more neutral. It is still a little on the warmer side, but ginger I don't usually recommend for just straight inflammation. And it goes back to also this, like ginger being warming, so is garlic. Everybody thinks garlic's very healthy, and it is, but if you have a heat condition, you might not feel good with it. So you have to be really mindful of how you react to things. Just because something's healthy for everybody doesn't mean it's great for you. Right?
Man, I will say the turmeric shots at Trader Joe's, they have these little 2-ounce bottles that have turmeric and lemon and black pepper and coconut water, and there's something else in there. It's like 5 ingredients. Yeah. Give it a little shake and just pop that back. It's like, oh man, it almost feels like go juice.
Yeah.
It's like, it just you pop that in and just instantly have just
Yeah.
better clarity
And
and
that's
whatnot.
the thing with the natural health. I mean, obviously, if you take too much of something, you could have a side effect. But
Sure.
like you mentioned, ibuprofen, aspirin. I've had patients who their doctors say they can't take it anymore because they tear up the digestive system
Right.
or they influence their liver or whatever else. So over the counters, have their pitfalls too. Taking them again every once in a while is needed, not a big deal. But if you're living on them, then it's worth exploring other options.
Oh yeah, that was me. I was rear-ended. My car was broken down just a little south of Gainesville, just a little north of Ocala, 75. And that put my life on a path where I was at the chiropractor multiple times a week. And in between, I was taking, I called it the cocktail. It was 2 Advil and 2 Tylenol.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And, it didn't tear me up because I think actually it's probably tearing me up. But the pain,
You're just too young to realize it was tearing you up.
and the pain relief that I got from my neck and shoulders and back, it was worth it. But when I finally, through my chiropractor and massage therapist, got things really ironed out, and then I met my physical therapist, who's practically an osteopath. Working with her, I haven't been to the chiropractor in, 5 years, and I've only taken an Advil or a Tylenol, maybe just a handful of times. And now when I take them, tears me up. I feel like death from one little thing. And I'm like, so now the last time, I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, I was in pain and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because I couldn't imagine what it would be like to take that thing for relief, but feel like death.
It sounds like you just need to hop over to Beachside and get yourself an appointment.
Do that too.
That's right.
Yeah, but that goes back to like physical therapy is another great one too. That if you are living off of a medication, it's really just it's decreasing inflammation, but it's covering up the symptoms.
That's right.
Something was probably out of place.
The root
physical
cause is still
therapy is
there.
what actually fixed that, so you didn't have to rely on it.
That's right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So as we wrap this episode, what's your call to action? Is it just, hey, listen to your body and consider acupuncture? Is there something else you want people to be aware of? Is there specific content on your YouTube or website or whatever? Like we just want to direct people to, because this podcast is informative, but it's also action oriented.
Right.
When stuff like this comes up.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd say our website has a lot of information, even just on natural health, like breathing exercises, dry brushing, like you name it. So we have a lot of content there. In general, I just say get started with something. If acupuncture is still too scary right now, even try a chiropractor, physical therapy. We're definitely open and have plenty of new patient spots available. So if you're really considering acupuncture, we'd love to have you. But just listen to your body, and like I said, don't give up hope on it. If you have some kind of health condition that either is a mystery or just isn't responding to standard treatments or whatever else, your body's always trying to do its best. So just think of other ways you can support it. Basics, day to day, drink water, get sleep, that type of thing. But then also drink water. That's the one thing I tell my patients the most. Most people are chronically dehydrated. But yeah, so just start somewhere, I guess, would be my main thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw in there that when it comes to any of these treatments or modalities or, something for the pain that, chiropractors have been in existence for who knows how long. And
200 years.
That's right.
The Palmers.
And when I talk to people who've never tried any of these therapies, I always say, look, if you go in with a sense of negativity, it won't work, it's going to hurt, all these other things, you might as well drive down the highway and just throw your money out the window because you've already determined that it's not going to work. And I hate to see people get to the point of pain where they're desperate for anything. But when I say in terms of, shock value, because people are always like, oh, I don't want someone touching my neck, they're going to snap my neck, whatever. I was like, I'll tell them, well, acupuncture, it's like next to nothing, and that you owe it to your body, to yourself, for your sanity to start somewhere with an open mind.
Yeah. Well, in acupuncture too, most of my patients take a nap, honestly, once the needles are in. You're in that rest and digest state. It's very relaxing. So definitely an easy way to start. And I mean, we treat really anything. So I mentioned pain a lot. It's what it's known for, but hormone issues, digestive issues, sleep issues, stress, anxiety.
Acid reflux, stress, anxiety.
Reflux, yeah, all of it. So,
Yeah.
just like I said, worth starting somewhere. Acupuncture is, one option, and there are plenty of others too, but
So I'm
acupuncture
guessing
personally.
because of the nature of this, you are probably mostly a cash pay clinic rather than going through insurance.
Yeah, we don't do insurance. One thing I didn't mention, so we didn't really talk about community acupuncture, but we operate on a sliding scale to make it more affordable. So our treatments, first time $65 to $95, follow-ups are $50 to $80, and we go by the honor system. So patients pay what they can afford within a range. We don't ask for any verification as to why. It's just meant to be something that could fit in their budget. And so a few things. One, we're not charging a lot, so insurance that we'd have to hire someone for and everything else. A lot of times that would be as much as a copay for insurance anyway. So we do run FSA and HSA cards. That's usually good in between. So insurance, we can do a super bill if we need to, but a lot of policies don't cover much with acupuncture anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, if someone knows they have it, like I said, we can, try to do a super bill, but otherwise, most patients are
just
happy
cash
with
pay.
the cash pay. Yeah.
Cool. You wanna hit her with that last question?
Have you ever tuned into the podcast?
No, I haven't.
Okay. All right. So
She has no idea what's about to happen.
that's right. Okay. Who would win in a fight between a giant polar bear and a great white shark? The fight happens in a body of water, 6 feet deep, infinite dimensions. There's no sandbar, no shallow end, no edges. There's no getting out of the water. Who wins in that fight? Giant polar bear, great white shark.
I'd say polar bear. The shark has the big mouth, but the polar bear has all of its claws too.
I like her. She's got a good.
Was that the right answer?
There's no
There's
wrong
no
answer.
wrong answer.
It's all a matter of which direction someone takes it.
Yeah.
That is my main argument too. 5 weapons versus 1 weapon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look at that. We got 2 in a row. Starting off the day strong, Kathleen. I love it. I'm team polar bear. Fred is team shark.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it. That's just a silly thing we started a while ago.
I haven't listened yet. I would have easily been influenced probably
Yeah.
with my answer. So gut
Okay.
reaction.
Okay, so Beachside Community Acupuncture. Okay, what's the website?
Beachsideacupuncture.com.
There you go. And we'll put all this information in the show notes, folks. She is Kathleen Ketola, and thank you, Ketola.
Yeah.
Ketola, not Ketola. I'm changing her name now, adding an O for some reason. Kathleen Ketola, and this has been another episode of the McKinney Podcast, where we celebrate what makes us unique by nature. See you soon, guys.